This is a basic introduction of why these athletes fail in the lift, considering being a novice athlete. So you'll notice that this athlete did not complete his successful lift because he was unable to grind to the end. And one reason is because you'll notice there was some exhaustion, so he couldn't push, the lower back couldn't push beyond that. And the other part that you'll notice that he did not have enough energy to push beyond that particular position. The best accessory to that is doing enough box squats and doing a combination of box squats and post squats. And also working on your hamstrings so that your lift can be efficient. You'll notice the same mistake has been made with Thomas here in a subsequent lift. We understand these are the final lifts, but they fail because of various reasons. Most of them couldn't complete their lift. So when you look at the athlete, you'll notice that they don't have enough energy to press on with the lift to the end. So one way of overcoming this by these amateur athletes is for them to go and do enough box squats in their program. They have to introduce box squats and pause squats. You pause with the weight for like 3 seconds. After you finish the pause squats, the next accessory that you do is the box squats, which will assist you both in hitting the depth and help you to complete any lift. For this particular athlete over here, you'll notice that he did a successful lift, but he was told to redo the judge simply because the judge felt he never hit the required depth, which is a particular case. So this one failed due to exhaustion. So maybe the other thing that I can advise an athlete is that you don't really have to do the rep. You can decide to save the energy and come and do the next lift. Or alternatively, if this was the last lift, you can decide to save the energy for the next event. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is how we are supposed to do the squats after we've analyzed the failures of the amateur people. We're going to look at Steve Amalo, Kenya's strongest man, 3 times Kenya's strongest man, and who also holds the national record in squats and the third highest squat in Africa of 370 kgs. So you'll notice this guy, before he does the squat, is taking his time. This is all about composure. Before you go and do any lift, take your time. Of course, you have to notice this is not going to work well with some events like powerlifting where there's a time gap, but just take your time at least to make yourself composed before taking the lift. If you have to eat your thing or sniff some ammonia over there, you can do so, but the most important thing is composure. While you move to the bar, you have to make sure that you're in a comfortable position. You have to make sure that you're balanced, how you're going to hold the bar over there. You position yourself in the rack, and before you do any lift, make sure the bar is well balanced on your back, whether it's an upper back or lower back, or whether you're doing high bar or low bar. You have to make sure very, very comfortable with the bar resting on your back. Once you do that, you'll notice that he's done only 2 steps. The first step with the right leg, and the other step with the left leg. Now the biggest mistake you are seeing with the amateur people is that some of them pick up the bar, it's almost your max lift, then you are walking back with so many steps, like even 4 to 5 steps. So it only consumes your energy. Just pick the bar, then you just make a step, 1. It's equivalent to 1 step, right, left. At that position, he does a very good squat, and in fact, he does a pause squat. The weight is balanced. You don't need to start balancing the weight once you have unracked the weight. That is the solution to squatting. Remember, strongman is a game of mind. It's a game of numbers. Strongman is a game of mind and trying to consume enough energy for the next lift. The next particular event that you look at is the log press, and here you notice that all the novice athletes fail in the log press, and basically due to one simple reason: just the technique. The technique is just off. Remember this particular log. You see there the log is facing this particular point. That is how you are supposed to pick the log. You are supposed to pick it while it's tilted. Then, as you place the log on the hips, you are supposed to sink down. Then press the log to your diaphragm or roll it over your belly if you have the power belly. Let it rest above your chest. Then you press. But now again, you notice most of these athletes had a problem in doing the clean. Somebody like this guy is a bit skinny. You don't have the power belly where you can roll that log on the belly. So you were supposed to sink low and make contact of his upper chest to the log, then try to tilt it a bit above the shoulder, and then you make the press. You are going to see this as you compare with the different world strongman athletes. You will see their videos on how they do the log press. Log press is all about technique. Log press is not about how strong you are at times, because it reaches a point whereby technique, once you do an efficient clean, it's going to be very easy for you to do the press. The other mistake that I noticed with this particular guy, the previous guy in blue and this particular guy over here who is called Wafula, look at the feet. His feet are so wide that they don't even give you a comfortable position. You're supposed to keep your feet slightly beyond the shoulder width. Then once you do the clean, you are supposed to use your leg drive to press the log up. But once your feet are so wide, it destabilizes you. Once you are not stable, there's no way you're going to do the lift. Because then the other mistake of what Wafula is making here is that since the feet are wide, there's no way you're going to engage your glutes. And remember, this particular lift, you have to use your glutes or your hips to lift, as opposed to just using the shoulders. The legs plays a very big role into this particular lift, unless you're Iron BB. Iron BB is so strong to a point that at times he even does strict presses or uses very minimal engagement of the legs. The same mistake has been done by Dante over here. I think he's used a very good technique to clean, but then again he was just unable to press simply because of a hurry. Once the log comes above your chest like that, you are supposed to take your time, position yourself very well. You can tilt the log over there, then you try to execute the clean. But you'll notice that he's not even stable during his stance. His stance are a bit wider. He has a very good technique of doing the clean, but now the problem comes to pressing. You have to be in a position whereby, and this is a mistake that you'll notice all the athletes, the elbows have to be a bit high. Once the log has been brought above your chest, you have to make sure that your elbows are tight and they're high to create a nice shell for the log to sit on. You see, the Olympic weightlifters usually do when they're doing clean and jerk. Once they bring the weight on the chest, the elbows are usually pointed tight and they're usually high. But now the mistake these guys are doing, the elbows are not high. You see, the elbows are a bit low. That's why I was telling you the point of picking the log from the ground once it's tilted. You don't pick it while it's the same straight level. No, you pick it while it's tilted. A good accessory to you understand what you're doing is that you're going to check on the different world strongman athletes over here, how they're doing their cleans and how they're picking their logs from the ground. Now, this is a mistake. You can't pick the log while it's in that position. It has to be tilted like in a 90 or 45 degrees angle, so that once you roll it over your chest like that, it gives you a good position for you to execute the press, because you're in a very good position. So there's basically a very big mistake with technique, and the only way to learn how to do a log press is just, number one, always do log presses. I understand that different dimensions of the log press. There are the log presses that are a bit wider, bigger dimensions. We have the Australian oak, which is so big that has been used in the Giants Live and other categories. We have some logs that are a bit smaller. The circumference is a bit small. But you'll notice that for an athlete, you need to always do log press at least once in a week. And the best accessory to doing this is that you make sure if your first set you're doing 5 reps of the log press, maybe if you have like 6 different sets, once you begin, you do 5 sets of the strict press and 5 sets of the normal push press or using the leg drive. It's going to assist you to complete and do the log in a very good way. because you'll notice that you can't do a log. A log is equivalent to somebody is training for a log press, for a yoke press. You need to always train with the log for you to be efficient with the log. The other thing is that you need to have strong shoulders, but that comes second. With the log press, techniques comes number one. The best person that you can look at while doing this technique is that go and check on Michelle Hooper, world's strongest man, how he does the log press. You can check on the Stoltman brothers, especially Luke Stoltman. He does the best and the most efficient log technique. There's a technique in which you do this thing. You have to sink your hips low. Once you place the log on your hips, on your thighs, you sink low. Then you try to roll it over your power belly if you have one. If you don't have one, if you're skinny like some of us, you make sure that your chest is in contact with the log press. Then you roll it over like Ian is doing over here. Then you execute a press. But then again, you make sure if you pick it from the lower position whilst it is tilted, it's going to rest very well above your chest at an angle whereby your shoulders are going to be up, your elbows are going to be a bit high, so it's going to give you an easy time to clean. So there's a technique to log press. All the athletes here fail due to technique, and that's why I'm really recommending you people should go to YouTube and check on World's Strongest Man techniques on log press. I had done a video before on log press, but I think the best way to go and check these techniques is going to check on the World's Strongest Man. Particularly, you can go and check on Michelle Hooper's videos. You can go and check on Brian Shaw's videos. You can go and check on Max Boudreau. They all use the same technique. They all use log press in the same way. You can go and check on Iron BB. You see, if you check on these videos over here of the world's strongest men over, and you compare with these athletes, you notice that the world's strongest men are doing the log press in the same technique. I understand the other techniques where you can do a split jack, mostly used by CrossFitters. I have seen Del Spiegel using it. I think is in CrossFit Games around in 2020. I have seen 2021. I have seen different people. Once saw Michelle Hooper doing a split jack, but you see, a split jack only limits you to a particular level. When it comes to strongman, you just have to use the normal technique of sinking down, rolling the weight on your power belly or onto your diaphragm, then executing a press using the leg drive. Simple as that. So for log, you just have to look for a log and go and do the log presses. Same mistake still being done here by James Kenda. So there's a slight position with this sinking. He's picking the weight, but you're not sinking down. Then the other mistake I've noticed over here, for me, I prefer while doing the log, though it doesn't happen for everyone, I don't prefer using the belt. I prefer, since I don't have a power belly, I prefer, because the belt limits my chest contact with the log, so I prefer removing the belt. But you see, for some athletes, they know how to use the belt. There's a way they place the log on the belt. So it all depends on what works for you. You can either use a belt or not. But for you to know this technique, you need to be training with a log, visit different gyms, go and test the dimensions of different logs. It's going to give you an upper hand while you're competing. This is a compulsory event in strongman. You can't just take it lightly. Imagine if you are in this particular event as an amateur, you take all the points, but now they all lost the points for a very simple weight. So it's an issue of technique, not an issue of strength over here. Of course, with time, the other things will come into place. The breathing, how you breathe, how you hold your breath, and that will only come with how you train. Once you're used to training the log successfully, adding the reps, doing strict presses in combination with the normal push presses using the leg drive, you're going to know how to hold your breath at the necessary point and release. Some people like Brian Shaw usually, once he places the log like this above the chest, he doesn't release his breath to execute the press. But for some people, once they place the log above the chest, they take time to reposition themselves. Some of them can breathe out and breathe in again, then press. But you'll notice the most important point of breathing is while the log is still down. You take a deep breath onto your thighs, sinking down, not going 90 degrees. You have to sink down the log so that the contact of the log and your body is just very close, so that to enable you to easily roll it on your chest or on your power belly above the upper chest, and then you just execute the press. Don't be in a hurry like these people to execute a press while you are not in a stable position. Please subscribe, guys. Check on these videos more. I'm going to bring a very good video very soon, actually a documentary. Please subscribe. We are moving on well. We want to promote strongman. Remember, this is the story of a champion. Subscribe to this channel. After analyzing the amateurs category failures, we are now going to give the solution. And here we are going to check on Steve Amalwa, 3 times Kenya's strongest man and an international lifter. So you'll notice that before he picks the log already is in a tilted position at a 45 degrees angle. That is how you're supposed to pick your log. You put it in a tilted position at a 45 degrees angle. So he picks the log, places the log on the thighs, and then he sinks his hips very low with the log. Then you'll notice that he's trying to maintain the contact of the log with his body. The contact of the log with his chest is maintained. So he uses his belly, stroke the belt, to roll over the log on the chest up to the upper side of the chest before executing the clean. And one thing you'll notice that I want you to check that position of the elbows once the log is already above the chest. You'll notice that the log, the elbows are a bit pointed in the upwards. They're lifted. They're a bit high as opposed to the elbows being low. So you notice this gives him a very good way to execute a clean. So the most important thing about here is knowing how to execute a good and efficient clean before you do a press. It's all about technique. Log is all about technique. And once your log is on your hips, make sure you sink low. Don't do the mistake that you've been seeing before by the amateur athletes are taking the log, but your hips are a bit very high. You have to sink very low with it for you to execute a good clean. Thank you, and this is the story of a champion.